Let's get started in using neurological levels with teams. So we'll start here with the history of neurological levels. In 1964, Gregory Bateson wrote an essay entitled The Logical Categories of Learning and Communication. He identified 4 basic levels of learning and change based on the work of Bertrand Russell. These levels are behaviour and environment, possibilities, values and standards, identity. In 1990, Robert Dilts published in his book Changing Beliefs with NLP the 6 levels, the 6 neurological levels that are commonly associated now with NLP. And these levels are environment, behaviour, skills and capabilities, beliefs and values, identity, and mission, vision, or purpose. Now, what's really interesting about this is it's been recognised that changing something on an upper level would necessarily radiate downwards, creating change at the lower levels. So if you're helping someone make change with their beliefs and values, their identity and their purpose, what that is doing is that's helping change everything that's below that. If you're helping someone change at the lower levels, that's the environment, their behaviour and skills and capability. Sometimes you'll get changes at the upper level, but not necessarily get changes at the upper level. So this is what's so magical about working with neurological levels. When you actually take teams to the level where people are working with their values and beliefs, their identity, and the real mission, purpose, and reason as to why they're working together, that's when you get change.
So your environment is your surroundings, the people, the places that you're reacting with and responding to. It's who can help you. What do you need to do something? Who do you need to help? What place do you need to be working in? Then we have behaviour, your actions. These are the things that are externally observable behaviours, posture, movements, including what an observer would see or hear or feel when you're engaging in a particular activity. So when we're looking at behaviour, especially in a business context and for teams, so how are the team behaving? How are members of the team behaving? Who's being cooperative? Who's being uncooperative? Who's being quite aggressive? Who are you hearing sounding aggressive? Who's being very timid? These are all things that come under behaviour. And then we have skills and capabilities. Now, environment and behaviour are very much outside world observable. These are things you can see people, that they all have to do with the outside world, not what's going on inside someone's own mind. Once we get to skills and capabilities, these are recognised as internal behaviours, the level of innate capabilities and learned skills that you have for dealing with life situations and how effectively you use these. However, that is moving slightly between inside world and outside world, because you will see people demonstrating their skills, am I correct? But why I'm saying it goes into the inside is it's people's attitude towards their skills, their beliefs. So what you'll see as we move on to the next levels, all the levels all connect with each other. Then we move on to beliefs and values. Now, in business, this is so important. Whether you believe something is possible or impossible, whether you believe it's necessary or unnecessary, whether or not you feel motivated by it, how your personal values support or hinder you. So can you see in business, if someone is thinking, this is not necessary to do this, or this is not, I don't believe in this, that's going to impact on their behavior. So this is where the neurological levels, they're all linked completely. But it's a diagnostic tool when you're using it with teams. And then identity, your self-esteem level, your sense of self. What do you identify with? This can include identifying with your job, marriage, or religion. It can also include how you interpret events and teams of your own self-worth. Who knows the people that identify as a leader and they're not a leader, but they walk about thinking they're a leader? Put your hand up if you know what I'm talking about. They all walk about thinking full of self-importance, and they maybe don't have the skills or the authority or whatever to be a leader. And then there's other people who really don't believe they could possibly, that their identity is not, oh, I could never be a leader, but they're fabulous. So again, in a team, we're going to go into it in more detail, but in teams, the identity of the team, the identity of the individuals in the team is huge. How does a team identify? How does a company identify? How do individuals within a team, how do they identify? And all of this helps you as an NLP professional move towards areas of development for maybe becoming more productive, maybe pulling a team together, team building. There's so many areas that you can use. In fact, I am now bringing neurological levels in this way into all of the corporate training I'm doing. I'm at least touching on it. Then you've got mission and vision. Where are you going in your life? With which people, what activities and places are key to this vision in your future? What is your purpose, the contribution you intend to make or are already making in the world? And if we take it, that can be the individual, but if we take it to the team, what's the vision or mission of the team? The mission could be to, say it's a sales team, to achieve our target. Very often when people talk about neurological levels, they talk about what's your impact in the world, what legacy are you going to leave, what's your higher purpose. They talk about all these things up there, which, yes, they're important, but sometimes it can be as simple as we're going to get our target. That's what we're focused on. That's the higher mission, if you like, for the whole team. Also, what's the vision of a company? How's the company moving forward? Where do you want to move forward? What's your vision for yourself in your career? So there's lots of ways that this can all be adapted. So let's get some feedback. What are you getting from this? Yeah, John?
One of the things I liked is that when you said if someone within the team doesn't believe in something, then it cascades lower. So there's a direction moving from high to low. So I like that distinction.
It's the only time I've been disciplined in work, when I used to work for Yellow Pages and they brought out a new process that paralyzed me, and I did not believe in it. I thought it was the biggest load of rubbish because it paralyzed myself and 4 other top performers. It made it impossible for us to do our job, and I was vocal and I got disciplined for my language. But I could not stop myself saying, this is not working. This is going to cause so many problems. I didn't believe in it. And I knew that I used to motivate people naturally with my my vision, my positivity. Yeah, we can always do it. But some of your most motivating people, if they lose belief in what they're supposed to be doing and do not see this as valuable to the team, then they can collapse people. And I had to be very aware of that. But eventually that particular scenario was changed, because I wasn't the only one that was vocal. So again, especially in change management, I know Annette does a lot of work with change management, you have to get people buying into the belief of, is this actually necessary? Is this important? Is this valuable? So where we use the neurological levels like this is you can really look to see what's going on in the team. Magnus, did you have something that you wanted to say there?
When you went through the pyramid, so to say, or the tippy, what I have learned, and that I also think is very good, is that if you see that from the 2 different angles, you can see it from one angle, you can see it more as a manager, and on the other angle, you can see it more as a leader.
Yeah.
So if you are in the bottom, for instance, you can see the opportunities or you see the dangers in the environment.
Yeah.
On the next level, you can see the proaction or reaction.
Yeah.
And next level, can see the EQ or IQ.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, things like that. So I think there are so many facets of this fantastic model.
Yeah.
There's
so much you can do with this. And I mean, this is just exploring. We've already done, when we upload the videos from this onto the club platform, I will also give you details of the previous masterclass. We did a previous masterclass on neurologicals for self. So that's also good to go in and look at as well. So So uncover neurological levels. When we're looking at the environments, where are you? What are you doing? Qualifications and skills, values and beliefs. Who are you and what's your purpose? So if we're looking at individuals, these are the questions we're asking. Okay. So using neurological levels of teams, this model can be used as a diagnostic tool to check where you are and your team members are in relation to the model. It can also be used to identify different challenges within the team. How to solve skills and capabilities challenge will be different to how to solve an environment challenge. And this is what I love about this particular model, is it helps you identify what areas there could be challenges. And especially in business, the quicker you can get to the areas to identifying challenges, the easier it becomes to know what to do next for the solution. Now, a company I'm working with we brought in neurological. Sorry, Mocha, you had a question. Your hand went up.
Yeah, I meant I could even leave it for later. But my question would be really valuable is if you shared a little bit of how you apply this with teams, because I apply this with the one-on-one people. But I'm thinking in terms of teams, would you just lead them kind of through group coaching?
I'm just going to go through that now, okay?
Lovely, thank you.
And I'll explain how I did it. A company I'm working with, they realised by identifying as a customer service company, focusing on serving existing companies, they were not attracting the right recruitment staff to grow the business through finding new clients. So how we did this is we sat down with 3 of the leaders. And I said, okay, so how does the company see themselves? What type of company are you? They're a recruitment company. I said, but how do you consider yourself? And they started to talk, they've been around 20 years. We really look after our customers. We pride ourselves in customer service. We look after this, we look after that. And it was customer service, customer service, customer service. I was actually in their office and they had their company values up on the wall, and the values were da-da-da fun, da-da-da fun, something else fun. They had fun up about 10 times on this poster. Okay, so your identity is, if I'm coming to work for you, you're a fun customer service company. And they went, oh, well, no. I said, well, that's what's coming across. That's how you seem to be identifying, because what they were doing, they were looking to grow and they were having problems. The people they were recruiting were not developing new business. But by talking, by listening, by observing, and just asking, how do you identify as a company? I went straight to the identity for this. They identified they were customer service. Once they realized, and it was quite a surprise to them, once they realized that they were actually customer service, they're now recruiting consultants that identify as sales professionals rather than customer service professionals. Now, what came from that is they started to look at how are we putting our job specifications for who we want to recruit, and they identified it was all about customer service, looking after customers. So, Morcha, does that answer your question a little bit? It was through discussion. We said, so you keep attracting customer service recruitment personnel because that's what you're asking for. But they also had to recognize that customer service type staff are a certain type of staff. They tend to be, if we look at meta programs, they tend to be quite compliant, really looking after people, tend to be quite same, don't really be, they'd like to have lots of similarities in what they're doing. Very often sales staff are not as compliant. They go out and just do stuff. And they might not be as good at all the admin side of things. So that we then had to go, okay, how are you going to deal with the behavior of different people? So this is when you can jump through the model and recognize, so, okay, you're going to have people with that kind of behavior. How are you going to get them to integrate with the type of staff that you've had in already? This is a small company. So it's quite an intimate office, but they're looking to grow from one team of about 10. They're looking to grow to 3 teams of 10. So that was the first area to start on very much was the identity. And then another company I've been working with, it had grown from a £10 million family-owned company to 100 million turnover in 5 years. Huge growth, tremendous growth. But many of the managers were still identifying as being part of a small family business rather than a fast-growing international company. One manager, senior manager I was working with, he was in charge of a warehouse, and he had gone from a staff of 4 to a staff of 120 in 2 years. And what was happening is, staff is 4, everyone would come to him as the boss, the guy who knows everyone. His father also worked in the company. He'd grown up in the company. And what we had to do with that particular department within this, because it's a company we're still working with, what we had to do within that particular department is we had to bring in an organizational chart for the department and start to change the beliefs of the individuals within the organization, that they couldn't all just go straight to him. He had 120 people walking into his office every day asking him things, with team leaders. So we then had to work with the identity of the team leaders to help them understand you're a team leader. And in one of the other departments, we had a fantastic situation where this girl spoke about the team. She was a manager, and she spoke about the team. I went, what do you mean the team? Whose team? And she got really embarrassed to say my team on day 1 of her training. By day 2, she came back 2 weeks later, and it was my team. She took ownership. So her identity changed from being sort of someone that wasn't quite sure she was a manager to, no, I'm a manager now, I have my team. And what we have as NLP professionals is we have got this incredible ability to listen to the language that people are using. So just by being in the companies and listening to the different ways that people are talking, you can hear how someone's identifying, how someone's taking ownership or not. And then from that, you can work individually, or you can sit with a group and apply this in whatever way is going to get the quickest results. And this is a lovely thing, this gets really quick results. So during a training program we delivered, help leaders work on personal identity. That is identifying as a leader or manager rather than a team member. This moved into behavior, attitude, skills, and ultimately their purpose. So we were moving between all the neurological levels as we went through the training. It was wonderful to see the pride they took in realizing they had been a valuable part of this growth. During the last year, we've seen the confidence of these managers grow as they now recognize that the identity of themselves, their team and company has changed. They now see themselves as international business leaders. This is an international company. It started off as a small family company. They're now in the Middle East. They're going out to the Far East. And you actually saw them going from, well, hang on, and you saw the difference. We're an international company now. Yes, Magnus.
I'm glad you're telling that kind of story, as I have been in companies that have merged into bigger companies also. And my experience is that the failures goes that you change in the environment, you change in the behavior, you change in the competence and skills, and then you stay there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you don't understand why doesn't things happens. So you need to move up to the values and beliefs. You need to move up to the identity. You need to move up to the purpose. Otherwise, nothing will happen.
Exactly.
So 9 of 10 companies is just acting on the bottom 3 when they reorganize things.
Yes, exactly.
That is my experience.
Yeah, and also what was lovely as we took, I mean, none of these guys, none of the leaders and we worked with their managers, we worked with team leaders and supervisors, and we worked throughout all of the company. And none of them had attended a leadership development training. And it was absolutely phenomenal. And we didn't go in once. We went in over a few weeks, 2 or 3 times, and we sent them videos. We kept taking them back their workbooks. We were sending them tips. And then we got everyone to give their feedback at the end. Everyone used to come back to each training saying how they had integrated what they were learning. Okay, so we really got lots and lots of evidence with this, as I do with all the companies I work with. But what was really interesting to see was the number of people who actually went, I do this already, but I didn't know this was the right thing to do. So when they became aware of this, it's okay to identify as a leader. It's okay to actually believe I can do this. That's why my team works so well with me, because we've all got shared values. When you get people talking about these particular areas, it opens up, as Magnus said, it really, that's when you've got the power to pull teams together. And especially when you go on to the purpose, and the purpose, as I said before, doesn't have to be a legacy you're leaving. It could just be, our purpose is to grow by 10% this year, or grow by 2%, or put a succession plan in place, whatever it is, but it's a real purpose that the whole team are absolutely focused on.
I've also been working with a company recently that had 50 people reporting into one person, and I helped put the organizational structure in place, and there was a lot of new team leaders being promoted. And a lot of the suggestions were, well, they don't have the skills and capabilities. And that's where the company management wanted to focus on. And actually, it was about identity. And once we actually started treating the new team leaders as leaders, and they started to identify that, that's when it took off. But the training that companies quickly often provide was not what it was about. It was about the identity.
Yeah. And with the identity, you can work on the values and beliefs. So you've got skills and capabilities, but then you've got the values and beliefs and identity. And think about it. Think about the ego identity. There's people who get promoted to boss, and they think boss is a verb. And they run around bossing people about and giving people orders, because that's maybe how they've been managed in the past. So they identify the position of a leader as quite forceful and bossy and telling people what to do. But and this is when I do a lot of work in my training, but the difference between managing and leading, and the different mindset. When you're managing things that are already in place. You're managing people to fit a structure, fit a framework. When you're leading, you've got to very much go into vision and working on things that haven't happened yet. So it's different ways of thinking. So you're absolutely right, Alex, that when you go into these areas, the values, beliefs, and then identity takes you much higher.
I share something as well from Fiona,
yes,
from my change management work that I do, because quite often I'd be put into an area where a team is perceived not to be working together well, and there's trouble. So I always used to get to sit down with each one of them and understand, what their skills and capabilities were, what their beliefs and values were, and help them to understand how important they were to the cog of the machine, because quite often they might be that they didn't feel valued because they were doing one of the mundane jobs, but actually without them, it wouldn't work. And so by bringing all these different things in together, I showed them how important their role was within the team. And going to environment, it might be that you've got 2 or 3 people sitting together that shouldn't be sitting together. They don't work well together. And just by physically moving them and going into more of a team sort of bonding, the results were just amazing over time, where they started to work together because they realized that actually they were all valuable in their own way, and helping them to build up their confidence through that.
So what you're working there is very much the beliefs and values, but also you said something right at the beginning there, Annette, that's interesting. The team are trouble.
Yeah.
So that is the identity of that team. The identity they've created is you're known as the trouble team. So how can we change that identity so you become the helpful team? And sometimes people will tell you, we are known as the trouble team, we're known as this, they're known as that. So if that's how people are identifying you, is that resourceful, or is it useful, or do you want to start changing your identity? Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So can you see how much there is in this? Now I'm just going, before I go on to the next part, I'll just turn the recording off.